This is the Giraffes Don't Eat Steak podcast, a show that brings you marketing stories, tips, hints, and much more. A treat for those who want to succeed in business or marketers who just want to
Hello,
learn.
Eleonora. Thank you so much for joining me
I'm
on the
good. Very
podcast
well.
today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it's so wonderful to have you. I know we've been talking about this for a while, so it's good we finally got the
Yeah.
time slotted in.
Yes.
So, for my listeners, Eleonora and I worked together. It feels like such a long time ago. And Eleonora was in my digital team. So, today we're going to talk all things digital marketing. So, Eleonora, we were just chatting before I started recording, which I shouldn't do, but anyway, about the importance of understanding your numbers. And I
Yeah.
was sharing a mentee that I'm helping at the moment who's really struggling to push back because she doesn't know her numbers and can't tell which channel is generating enough leads or the right quality leads. What are your thoughts on just knowing your numbers in digital?
Well, to me, numbers are everything, really. When I try to explain to people what I do, they think I work in marketing, so I just, create nice pictures and nice fluffy presentations. But in actual facts, marketing is very much data for me. It's very much data-driven decision making. So, what I can say is, particularly for digital marketing, that's the beauty of it, because with data, you can immediately know almost real time how your campaigns are performing, and then you can make changes almost on the fly. That's what I love about digital marketing too. So I've been in situations where in the past I've started jobs and the business was throwing money into Google search ads, and basically they weren't tracking conversions. So when I joined, and I said, okay, what's the ROI of this marketing spend? How many leads are we making from Google Ads? Basically, they didn't know. So I started, from scratch and implementing the tracking into the website to be able to understand exactly how many leads we were making and what was the cost per lead. And then the other question I got from the CEO one of the first days when I joined, it was, so what's our lead to sale conversion? And I didn't know because we didn't have the data in place. So another thing was not only to track the digital campaign performances, but also to track the end-to-end customer journey. So from traffic, so from visitors to leads, to and we're talking B2B here, to how many appointments we had generated, how many quotes, and finally how many sales from that specific number of leads. And then also, the implementation also involved the ability to break down by channel. So what was generated by SEO, what was generated by PPC, what was generated by email marketing, and so on.
Yeah.
And the more granular you are, the more able you are then to make informed decisions. So if you implement tracking that is allowing you to know exactly that specific sale from which keyword was generated, if it came from a Google ad, for example, then you will be much more powerful in deciding the way forward, which keywords to invest on and which keywords to cut, for example, in the digital marketing strategy. Um, so yes, for me, analytics is the key.
Yeah, and it's so interesting, especially for small business owners who don't have teams and teams of people to do this. They often think it's just too much effort, right? That it's too much work to get these numbers and actually analyze what it means. But I really think they could be missing a trick, especially in terms of quality, right? For your sales team as to, which traffic source, even though there may be volume, so it's easy to generate volume. I worked with a tea company once, And all they said is they just want volume. And I'm like, are you sure? Because I could go and buy a list
Yes.
and just tell you it's volume, but it's the wrong kind of people, right? You're going to get zero sales from it because number one, I bought the list, so they've never heard about you. And number two, they don't like tea. How do you even know they want to buy some tea? So it's not just about volume. It's also then which traffic source gives you the right kind of clients that actually want to buy your product.
Yes, absolutely, yes. And as a general rule of thumb, I would say that the best traffic in terms of quality of leads would be your direct traffic. So people that know
Yeah,
you and type in the search in the address bar, type in your address, come straight to your website because they know what they want. Then, in terms of good quality of traffic, you will get good quality from search engine optimization. So all the
yeah,
efforts around being found on the search engine. And third place will be the PPC. That's my experience. So the Google Ads. Um, the less quality in terms of leads, I will give it to display or affiliate marketing or buying list. Buying list is the worst, as
the
you're saying,
worst.
Erika.
I agree.
Is the worst. Yeah, because they've never heard of you. So unless you have, a specific strategy in terms of warming up those leads, so you will have to enroll them in a nurturing program.
Yeah,
So starting from top of the funnel with like very generic content, addressing them with interesting topics, maybe in an email campaign, and then implementing some rules within your marketing automation system. So just to simplify, you start with top of the funnel, the big number of leads, you start sending generic messages, and then depending on who reacts, who clicks on your links or on your call to action buttons in your email, then you implement the second step, which is more around the middle of the funnel, and then only select that type of audience. So those who reacted already to your
yeah,
messages in the past, you bring them down into the middle of the funnel type of content, and then again, based on how they react, then you push them down into the bottom of the funnel and send them messages that are more around your offer, the specifics of your product or service, and why they should buy from you. And but it's a very, you know, big effort. You
yeah.
need a team, or you need a full-time person at least to perform this sort of campaigns that is starting from cold lists.
And patience.
And a lot of patience. It's a big test and learn effort. So
Yeah,
it can be that the first time you try, you get zero leads, you get zero sales. I mean,
yeah,
and so you have to fine tune your campaign. You have to build the emails. You have to build the programs. You have to create the content to populate your email. And so it's a lot of effort. Yeah.
yeah. I agree. Something new that's cropping up, and I know that you're also been into this AI world a lot, but I'm hearing a lot of people are using AI to generate leads. Have you come across this in your research?
So, using AI to generate leads. So, yes, AI can do anything for you right now. What I've been doing so far is I've been studying how AI is impacting us marketers
Yeah.
in digital. And I started from the observation that now Google, so PPC, so the paid search and the SEO, are sort of losing traction because Google itself now is presenting, when you search something on Google now, Google itself is presenting the top of its page with AIO, which is AI overview.
Okay.
And so it's basically providing sometimes already the answers to your query without the
Mm,
need of scrolling down and going and clicking into specific links, being SEO or PPC. What actually the research is telling now is that, in a year's time, since last year, the PPC and the SEO click-through rates have plummeted for pretty much everyone.
Oh,
And that's
wow.
because, yes, that's because Google introducing AIO has prevented people from clicking, because they were already finding what they needed at the very top of the page without clicking anywhere. And that's a game changer for marketers, because
Yeah.
before we were relying on SEO and PPC clicks, and now maybe there is another thing to consider. There is another element to measure the success of your campaign. What if your brand appears within the AIO? What if you get mentioned directly at the top of the page of the Google search engine um, results page? And that's a sort of uh, difficult to predict,
Yeah.
and because there is no, it's not bid based, you don't pay to get there, it's not like space like advertising that you pay for. It's based on the algorithm that Google is using to present the results, and Google algorithm is secret, but also the same is true for all the other large language models. So Google is using AI right now, but there are also other platforms, as we all know. There is ChatGPT, there is Claude, there is Perplexity. There are all these new AI platforms and chatbots that provide answers to queries. And it's again, the challenge is, how do we get mentioned by these other platforms as well? And
Yeah.
how do we measure that? Because you know an average conversation with ChatGPT is very different from the usage of Google search, first of all.
Yeah.
So Google search, you input your 2, 3 keywords, and then you get a list of results, you click, and that's it. In ChatGPT, your experience is much more personalized, because
Mm.
if you think about it, the average length of a prompt is 23 words, and the average number of prompts is 8. So you really have a conversation, a discovery, a problem-solving conversation, a brainstorming conversation. The intent, in this sense, is different from what people normally do on Google.
Yeah.
But it's like an expansion. It's a new need that is being met by another platform, which is not wasn't met before and didn't exist even in Google. In Google before, the intents were 4 types of intents. There was navigational, commercial, transactional, and informational. In ChatGPT, for example, these types of intents only represent around 30% of the activities and the queries that users generate. All the
Wow.
rest is new, is discovery, is brainstorming, is problem solving, as I was saying. So there's much more opportunity to appear in searches, and but appearing in one of these conversations is much more valuable,
Yeah.
because the obviously the conversation is much more personalized, and and yes, probably very there are many opportunities to generate leads from these sort of sources, from the conversations people have with ChatGPT or similar. Um, and that's because from research that I found on LinkedIn, around 21% of B2B operators declare that they are using AI to basically research for solution providers. So
Mm.
thinking about, you're operating in a B2B industry, particularly industries like tech, fintech, um, financial services as well, healthcare, marketing and advertising. These are like some of the key industries where people actually use ChatGPT to find solution providers. So they
Oh, wow.
don't only go to Google, but they also use ChatGPT to find what they need. Me myself, I was going to look for a website creator. Yes, I looked on Google, and then I went into ChatGPT and said, list me the website, the latest AI-based website creators. And then ChatGPT gave me a list, and then I asked, okay, now compare the pros and cons, considering that I'm building this website for a charity, that I need, limited, like it must be very self-explanatory, very easy to use. It must contain AI functions. It must be cheap. And then ChatGPT offered me a table with all the comparison, the pros and cons, and all the features of all the different providers. So if I'm doing it for myself, for my own website, I would imagine, a lot of people are doing that. And imagine the value of appearing among the top 3 or 4 or 5 solutions suggested by ChatGPT. Then of course you will go and visit the website of that specific provider, and you will be a very, very valuable lead.
Yeah, absolutely.
For that website. The challenge is how to appear in those responses that come up from ChatGPT or the other large language models. And I've also been looking at that.
Tell us the answer, Eleonora.
Because I would like to find tangible solutions for real marketing problems. So I've been documenting and studying a bit, and basically the optimization for those large language models platforms is very similar to what you do on SEO.
Okay.
For SEO optimization, so for search engine optimization. But I would say the large language models optimization really give priority to trust, to authority, and to natural languages.
Okay.
So much less of your efforts if you're spending time in stuffing keywords in your contents that are relevant to your business, or you're doing a lot of link building from other websites that are not very authoritative. You're not gonna gain very much from a large language model optimization perspective. It would be much more valuable to create some content and then give it some structure to your website, because the large language models like structured content. That means using H tags, H1, H2 tags, using bullet points, using FAQ sections, using schema markup, so to basically categorize your content, everything that you put on your website. You have to categorize it and say, this is my product, this is my location, this is my customer reviews, this is my social media handles, this is my top navigation. And so the large language models will understand better what you're talking about, and it will be much easier for them to retrieve that information. So it's no longer and not only anymore about crawlability of the website, but also retrievability of the website. And the other thing I notice is that now large language models also use authority. So if you're mentioned by other websites with high authority, or wiki style websites, or Reddit, or things like that, it's more likely that your website will be picked up by ChatGPT or similar. If you engage in conversations with your customers, customer reviews, these are all things that are very useful from a large language model optimization. And so basically, just to summarize, I've sort of come to the conclusion that if you look after large language model optimization, SEO will look after itself.
Okay.
That's just what my understanding is at the moment. And there is a lot of discussion But yeah, that's where I've come now. Like that's my conclusion for now. And things can evolve very fast. So this is just my opinion today.
That's so fascinating. I hadn't even considered that as a new digital stream, is how do I appear in ChatGPT? This is this is the new target for businesses. It's no longer page one of Google. It's now I want to be in that summary
Yeah,
on Google. Um, that that
yeah,
that's where I want to be. Do you know any business that's got it right?
yeah.
Ah, who? Who's got it right?
Mhm. Um, so mm, yes, I was doing some research for a business, and they actually were present there. So I tested ChatGPT. So I asked. So this business is it's called ICIS, and it's a company that is providing insights and intelligence regarding commodity markets in the commodity industry, so prices in the chemical industry and things like that. So it was very much B2B oriented in that sense. And I've done some research for them, and I've interrogated ChatGPT. My prompt was imagine that I am a sourcing manager working for a chemical company, and I need to understand the raw material of oil for the next 5 years. Which company would you use? Which company would be the right one to source this sort of information? And ChatGPT came back with a list. I think I asked for a top 3 or top 5, and it came back with a list. And in fact, ICIS was in the list. So
Fantastic.
they make a big effort in terms of content
Mm.
creation, and they are very well known in the market, in this niche market. So they have big authority. I have more examples of companies that I've searched in the same similar way, and they didn't come up.
Yeah.
Um, and one of them was because it was a relatively young company, so it's like a startup, so they didn't really have had the time to create any background information or building any relationship or even populating their website over time. And the other one, quite frankly, because their digital presence was quite limited.
Yeah.
Their user experience was so and so, and they were lacking, content, and so they didn't come up. So I won't name those two, but yeah, it's an exercise that I would do if I had the responsibility of a marketing function in a company.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's something, and the example you gave us of the ICIS that did appear is they are quite niched in their offering.
Yeah.
And this, I suppose, is another way that's really important because you have to specialize in something for the large language models to understand that you are up there. Because if you're generic, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm reading into what you're telling me, but if you're generic and your offer is the same as a million people, it's going to be very hard for the large language models to pick you out of that million. And you've got to be special in some way, right? And niching is one of
Yes,
the ways
well,
you can differentiate.
totally. Yes, but if you think about it, it's just an amplification of the general marketing principle. You
Absolutely.
want to
Absolutely.
differentiate yourself. And so, yes, it is even more true in this case. I would say, yes, spot on, yeah.
Yeah, but and so many people just don't. I met someone last week as well at networking who said, this was her words, I'm greedy. I don't want to niche. I help everyone. And I thought, that's not actually greedy because you're not going to get clients.
Well,
It's the
yes, that's a bit of
opposite.
generic. That's a bit of a generic marketing strategy.
that's too watered down. You're the opposite of greedy. I don't know what you're having a hobby, not a business.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
And yeah, I'm always shocked that every now and again I hear someone who's so adamant that they help everyone and they want to hang their hat on that. But for something like this now, you've lost the plot, right? You've lost. AI will never find you if there's nothing about you that makes it stand out. I guess also you need to make sure that the information about you is consistent. And this is another thing I'm sure you've seen is the website says one thing, but then you go to the LinkedIn profile and it's got something else. And then you know, when you actually interrogate all the assets of the business, they're all different. And I'm guessing that is also going to put the large language models off because they're like, well, I don't know which part of it is real, so I'm going to move on to someone who's consistent. So consistency across all the places you're visible, whether it's Facebook, whatever it is, make sure that's consistent. Do you agree with that?
I do, yes, totally. Even in the tone of voice and the way you treat your customers.
Yeah.
So it's not only your advertising, your website, and your social media, but if you are saying to your customers that you've got high values, you value transparency and good service, good level of service, then you have to mirror that in the behavior that your workforce has with the customers, because otherwise it will be a massive disappointment. So it's like 360 consistent, yeah, 360 degrees consistency, not only on your face, but also in the way people behave, in the way people speak to you. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting. And then the other thing that just crossed my mind is I guess you also need to make sure that that information is available. Because if ChatGPT or whatever is going to be comparing you with other businesses, you have to be able to give it the information to compare. So making sure you have, and this is, I know a lot of people struggle. Do I put my price on? Do I not put my price on? If particularly, that is one of the criteria and you don't have it, it's going to be harder. Who are the clients you serve? How easy are you to install? Whatever it is, depending on your model. But you have to then make sure that content is available. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. And sometimes I can imagine price is sort of challenging for some businesses to put, up front. But that also can give you an opportunity, because I've got few experiences in my background where basically providing the price is not straight away, but like maybe you have to ask people to give you few details
Yeah.
for a quote. This will invite people and will motivate people to give you those details in order to get a price. And in several experiences, even when we worked together, Erica, for Greece, I remember there was an example in Greece where we tested two solutions. One was a lead generation, which didn't provide anything as a pricing, and the other solution was a full quotation system where people would have to input 39 fields of information in order to get a price. And guess what? The conversion rate was much higher when people had to input all this data in order to get the price. So it's an opportunity. Maybe you don't have to put your prices straight on your homepage.
Yeah.
If you're not convinced about that, but it could be an opportunity to provide some sort of quotation engine to attract more leads and get more contact
Maybe not
details.
39. I always thought 39 was excessive. Cut it down a little bit.
Agreed.
Yeah, 39 was, I mean, we were surprised with those results, right? But how about 20 from 39? Let's go down a little bit. But yeah,
Of course, the less the
those
better. Yeah.
yeah, those are really interesting. And I actually in a another test I did, we also looked at just asking two or three questions like age, etc., versus asking nothing. And consistently asking questions made people more invested. They
Exactly.
actually they were better quality leads, they were more invested, they went forward. Whereas, making it too simple, they almost lost interest. So yeah, it's a interesting psychology to think
Yeah.
through. And now to add large language LLMs to the mix, it's just another complication, right? As if us humans aren't complicated enough.
Yes. Yeah, no, totally. Um,
Fantastic.
I guess it's a continuous dialogue of you give me something, I give you something back. Online it's always like that. You get interaction if you give something back. If you're just asking for everything but not giving anything, you get less
Yeah.
investment from customers, from visitors, from people in general.
Absolutely. That's why we say give value. Make sure everything you're sending out is of real value to people, right? Not there's nothing. I'm sure you've been to some of these webinars where it sounds great, but when you arrive, literally there's no value. It's just a sales pitch for 30
Yeah.
minutes. And you're like so frustrated. You're like, where's the value? I was on one this morning actually where all they said was, we don't have enough time for me to give you the details. And then read out a list of topics in order to sell you their full package at the end. And that's all they said is we don't have enough time in this webinar to tell you any details. Then why invite us to a webinar? Like it was really
Yeah.
frustrating. No value, no value. The other thing I saw is you on LinkedIn, you put out a post talking about how brand search volumes are positively correlated with the likelihood of being mentioned by AI chatbots.
Hmm.
Talk to me about that a little bit.
Yes, so I just shared the research really that someone else did. So it's not, I don't take any credit for that. There was this research that was basically showing that the brand search volume, so how many people search for your brand on Google, is basically positively correlated with the likelihood of appearing in ChatGPT. And it's all related to the popularity of the brand, right? Because if
Mm,
more people, many people look for you online, that means that you're quite popular. And it's nothing different from, it's quite intuitive, right? If you're very popular, you're likely to be present in more places. You are mentioned by other websites. You probably have a very good website. You have a big marketing team behind. And therefore, obviously, this is picked up by ChatGPT because obviously ChatGPT finds a lot of information about you online and returns the information to the user. So it's sort of consistent with the strategy that I was talking about before about building content and also creating the sort of digital PR. So having you mentioned by customers through customer reviews, but also by other authoritative websites like the wiki style websites that I was mentioning before. Yeah, so that's all in the same direction.
mm. But it made me also think about because a lot of, especially some of the big companies you and I have worked at, etc., don't believe in brand, right? They they
Mm.
um they don't believe in brand building or having any impact on brand other than a little booklet called the brand guidelines, and that is the full extent. But something like this is another push towards why brand is as important as your lead gen activities, right? So you need to be working on it all together because it all adds up. And if you do the brand building well and you get that really established, consistent, clear, you're going to build on your organic traffic, which is going to build, because of your SEO, etc., which is going to then also drive the higher up you're going to go in these learning models minds. I'm going to call it a mind, so that you become prominent. So it's lovely for me in that actually the traditional marketing principles that have been around forever are still present and actually emphasized by this new thing called AI that everyone's suddenly excited about, right?
Yes, that's totally correct. Yes, and maybe there will be in the future a better way of directly measuring the ROI of pure branding spend.
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
I hope there will be. Yeah.
Maybe we should ask ChatGPT, what is the best way to measure pure brand spend? Eleonora, it's been so wonderful chatting to you. Where can I know you do a lot on AI and you're really active. How can people get hold of you if they want to talk to you more or ask you any questions?
Yes, I'm on LinkedIn, so I'm open to networking and making new connections. I'm really happy. So yeah, that's the best way for me to get in touch with you.
Fantastic. Any last word of wisdom you want to leave with our audience?
In all this noise and buzz around AI and all the new technologies that is appearing so fast, the sort of way to prioritize and keep focus is just focus on your customer needs. If you keep on your customer focus on your customer needs, you're gonna find the answer and the solution for them and for your business as well.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. Eleonora, it's been wonderful to chat to you today. Thank you so much for sharing your pearls of wisdom and even opening my eyes to something I hadn't thought about before. So I always love when a guest does that. And I will chat to you again soon.
Thank you, Erica. Thanks for inviting me. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That wraps up this episode of Giraffes Don't Eat Steak. Thanks for joining us. I hope you found value in our discussion and got some new ideas to apply to your own business. Tune in next week for another round of marketing insights and inspiration. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. We appreciate you listening. Catch you next time on Giraffes Don't Eat Steak.